Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know what the most common remark made by 70-plus-year-olds is when they enter an antique store? Seriously. Holy cow, I remember these. I can relate to that. Good morning and Happy New Year to you. Zeb at the Ranch, here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots, with our Pledge of Allegiance. Start a brand new year. Good morning. And a good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And I know, I may make a lot of mistakes today because I've had a lot of time off, and yours truly take a little while to retrain me. And Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, without further ado, let's go to the phone line and start the new year off right with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick warning to you, sir. Never leave a restaurant and hit the alarm button on your vehicle. I just want to let you know that.
Well, it gets everybody's attention.
Oh, it did? It did. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good guy right there, he and his wife. Hey, right now it is time for the weather forecast, and we're going to start the new year off right as we have K&R Rental, Roger and the crew at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Oh, my. Always offering the rental of the best tools and equipment that you need. It's all there at K&R Rental. Got questions? You don't know what you need? Hey, call them and they'll help you right on the phone. 678-3122. That number again, 678-3122. K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with our forecast.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this January 2nd, and we are going to see some sunshine for today, but the winds are going to be sticking around, and the wind chill factor going to make it cold. We are expecting a high of 21 under mostly sunny skies, but that wind chill values as low as -7, winds out of the east right around 10 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 12. Tomorrow, again, more sunshine in the forecast. Winds out of the east right around 8 miles an hour, and we are expecting a high of 27 by tomorrow night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 17. Warming up for Friday, if you want to consider it a warm-up. Partly sunny skies, high of 34, then mostly cloudy and 24. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Woo! I mean, it has been cold the last couple of days to start off our brand new year. Good morning, everybody. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway. And they've got everything. They've got all the heaters. They've got all the heaters that you may need right now to keep those lines from freezing up. So check it out today at K&R Rental. Number to call, 678-3122. Wow. I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful New Year's. We did. It was phenomenal. I had a chance for the family to get together. I just wish the only negative was I didn't have a chance to get with Jake and his family. Jake, of course, being a fireman, as duty called, so he had to answer. And we didn't have a chance to see him and his family during the Christmas and New Year's break. But wonderful times with the rest of the family and friends. And thank you very much for all your well wishes. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners. Oh, they want you to come on in, start the new year off right, get all the tablecloths from the Christmas dinner and everything else. They got all messed up, your shirts and your sports jackets and your dresses. Hey, they can clean them and send them back to you looking brand spanking new. They are the best at what they do, by far. And that's Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And you stop in and see Kevin and Cindy today. Don't forget, Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. I'm going to be going over there, as a matter of fact, after the program. So good morning to them and Happy New Year. Also want to take some time here real quick before I start taking your calls, and please start the new year off right and give me a jingle. I want to say a big shout out and thank you. I got a cough drop again this morning. I'm sorry, I'm about choked to death. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness, they get there early in the morning at 7:30 till 5, Monday through Friday. And it's not bragging, it's the truth. They've got all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. We had quite a few birthdays over the last couple of days that I want to mention, and one in particular to start things off. Wheels had a birthday on the 28th, and so Wheels, happy belated birthday. I tried to call you on your cell phone, but during the break, evidently you were having way too much fun. He's gone. Okay, and
I'm here. I was just saying that, with my birthday, especially close to Christmas, that it definitely, sometimes it kind of feels like it's not strenuous, but then, you have those moments too where it's like, wow, there's a lot to do in one day. So I'm sorry that I missed your call, but I thank you guys for that, and I appreciate it, and I had a lot of fun.
All right, well, happy. How old are you now?
I'm 25. I'm getting up there.
25? Why, you got one wheel on a banana peel.
I do. It's crazy. Okay. I don't sound my age, but then people hear me, or I tell them my age.
Okay.
It's like, yeah. So anyways.
Well, happy birthday. We mean that, too, by the way. And also, Gene Staley had a birthday over on Saturday, this past Saturday. Becca Matthews' birthday. George Faulkner had a birthday this last Saturday. Well, George, my goodness sakes, happy birthday to you. And my daughter, Toby, had a birthday on New Year's Eve. So those were the birthdays that I wanted to catch up on. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, going to be over there today, too. I got to stop in and see some folks. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. It is America's Diner. My goodness sake, stop in for breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime. All the time. Delicious food, great service, really friendly people serving you at Denny's Restaurant. So stop in today. Menu choices that are absolutely fantastic. Check it out. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland and Burley. Yes, it's true. America's Diner. Absolutely great folks. One other thing I want to mention, too, is that Stoats Equipment, don't forget, they're on the air Tuesdays at 9:46. Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland and Burley, and they make your life easier, and we're going to be talking to Vic next Tuesday over there. Really wonderful people, and they wished you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stoats Equipment Company on Overland in Burley. All right, now it's time to get back into the swing of things with some telephone calls, and And the number 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to hear particularly from people this morning that wanted Romney years ago to defeat Obama to be president. Everybody was so high on Mitt Romney. And quite frankly, I was in his corner. I was in Romney's corner. But right now, I am absolutely against Mitt Romney and the way he conducts himself. I am against what he's doing to gnaw and chew away and chip away at the current administration and president. And I find it low class. This might offend some of the Romney supporters out there, but I'm going to come out and say it, and I mean it. Why can't you just do your job now as a Utah senator and leave the president? And by the way, Trump endorsed you and helped you get the votes from Utah to become the senator. And now he comes out over the weekend and blasts President Trump, criticizing Trump, saying, well, his character hasn't risen to the level of being president. Let me ask you this. When did we appoint Romney as Secretary of Character? You know, I'm finding Mitt Romney to not be what his resume says he is and has been. And I find it disgusting to come out and just continually bite and chew and gnaw away at the current administration. By the way, the current administration has done literally hundreds of things in the first 2 years to benefit all of us. But I think this attitude and personality is below Mitt Romney. I thought it was. And I just think that what he's doing, and I heard another commentator say this earlier this morning, I said it when I heard this for the first time, that maybe by coming out and attacking Donald Trump and saying, well, his character hasn't risen to the level of being president. Do you see what I see looming on the horizon maybe in the end of this year going into 2020 as maybe another attempt that's not very well hidden to become president, or at least throw your name into the ring? I do. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Start the new year off right and be the first caller on the air for this year. There you go. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Got an ache, got a pain, got a strain, recovering from a surgery, whatever, they can and they will help you. Absolutely the best. All you have to do is call them. Make an appointment at 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, the best. Number to call again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
My feelings are hurt.
why?
You forgot something.
What did I forget?
A birthday.
Whose?
Mine.
Oh, and double O. Your birthday was?
December 26th.
I forgot. I'm sorry. You know, my old mind, and if I don't write things down, and if I do write them down, I lose the paper. Happy birthday. I am sorry.
Yeah, and you also forget which button to push on your remote to unlock your pickup.
Let it lay. You know, I got to tell everybody, we went out to eat the other night, and we came out of this restaurant, and I thought I would unlock my pickup, and in the dark hit the wrong button, and then I dropped the key, and this thing's going off, and we had the police and the fire department, the National Guard, SWAT teams, and everybody. It was terrible.
You got everybody's attention, didn't you?
I did. I hope you have a very happy new year.
Oh, you too, sir. I will be in your corner probably 95% of the time.
Well, I appreciate that, and you've always been a good friend and caller into this program. And quickly, I've got another call waiting, and we're going to ask that caller just to stay there for a minute. What did you think about those comments by Mitt Romney? Quickly.
Well, Mitt Romney needs to look in a mirror. Those comments he stated can go right back to him the way he's acting as an incoming senator.
Yeah, I agree.
If I was a resident of Utah, I'd be starting a recall petition against this man, because this man did not run in the best interests of Utahns. He run in the interest of Mitt Romney, and I agree with you 100%. He's wanting to try to shoot Trump down in 2020.
Yeah, I see no value at all in trying to cut the legs out from underneath Donald Trump. I find it very low class with 2 years left in the first term in office, and I find it extremely below Romney. I thought he was a better man than this.
Well, he has come out to prove he is not. He has come out to prove that he is a swamp creature. He is part of the problem with our government. He is not for the people. He's for the government.
Well, I can't argue with you, and I'm interested to see what a lot of the Mitt Romney supporters in this area are going to say, because I'm not going to back up. I think it's extremely low class what Romney did, and honestly, in the long run, denigrates himself.
Exactly. And I've learned a long time ago, my mother taught me this growing up, when you point a finger at someone else, there's three of them pointing right back at you.
You got it. Doug, God bless you. I appreciate it. And, we got to do this right. We got to start the new year off right. Don't forget what, Doug?
Help the senior center.
There you go.
I mean, I know I sound like a broken record, but they need our help.
Yep.
Donate to them. Go eat there. And once you go eat there, you will go back and you will help donate to the senior centers.
Absolutely. Doug, always welcome on here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, I'm going to be coming your way. Hold on just 30 seconds. Want to remind everybody about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. They are a mixed animal practice, meaning, of course, large or small. They take care of them all. Want all your animals healthy. And I urge you, with this cold weather, make sure they have adequate supplies of water, drinkable water, not froze up water. Please, they need the water, and make sure that they've got the heated buckets and the tubs and everything else. Please, lots of water is necessary. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole crew in Heyburn, 678-1177. Warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Zeb, we missed you over your holiday vacation. Seems like the day's not complete without getting started with you. But anyway, at the Burley Senior Center today, we're having turkey pot pie, green salad, and custard dessert. So we invite everybody to come on out and support the senior center.
Let me ask you something. I don't know how you are about this, but when you said custard, I mean, it really perked up my ears. Ever since I was a little boy, I love custard pies. I love custard desserts of all kinds. What about you?
Oh, yes. Now, this is pumpkin custard.
Oh.
I forgot to mention that. Yes, I'll enjoy it.
All right. Well, listen, Mr. Yummy Man, it's good to have you back on to start off the new year. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you and everything you do.
All right, Joe. Thank you. And that's over at the Senior Junction Senior Center on Overland in Burley. Dear man, Joe Taylor, thank you so much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, on Mondays, we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, my, right on the square. Delicious restaurant, delicious bakery with all the pies and the different desserts and the cookies, and they make beautiful wedding cakes. It's all there with the whole crew at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. You stop over and see those great folks today. All right, calls are welcome. Give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Honestly, I'd like to know your thoughts about Mitt Romney. Everybody thought, oh, Mitt Romney, Mr. Clean, Mr. Squeaky Clean. Well, I think he has kind of rolled in the dirt a little bit, not just recently, but at other times also. And I don't like the attitude of the denigration of the president, the current administration, possibly to further his own nest. Not good. Not good. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What if a Republican or a conservative said something similar to this remark? What if somebody got on the radio, and I'm just going to give you a supposition right now that, okay, if I said this, or if someone else that is of conservative said this, hold on, caller, I'll be right there, that what's your New Year's resolution? And we said, well, it's to make sure that the Republicans and the Republican Party die. Yeah, if I were a Democrat, that was said. And guess who said it? A former comedian from Saturday Night Live named Jane Curtin, you've seen her, lots of skits and in the movies and everything else, came out and said that it was her New Year's resolution that she wanted to see Republicans and the Republican Party die. And again, I say, what if some conservative or Republican came out and said the same about Democrats? All heck would fall from heaven above. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are things going for you?
Really good, sir. How are you? Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. I apologize for being on my cell phone, but back to your original question. I am personally, I was a Medley supporter. I really thought that he was the man that ought to be there. But when he came out opposed to Trump, when Trump won the election, he lost a lot of respect as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask you something, Bert, and you've been involved in politics most all your life. To me, and I have not traveled down the same road you have, serving the great state of Idaho for those many, many years. But by denigrating the current administration and going after the character of Donald Trump, the president that actually helped him get the endorsement for the senatorial bid in Utah, and then he says that Trump's character hasn't risen to the level of being president. Wow, what good did that do to help Mitt Romney?
Well, I'm a little like you're thinking there. I think he's trying to position himself for that. And the fact that he has been so vocal against Trump, your comment, well, that my feeling is when somebody's elected, we got to do all we can to support them. Now, if we're going to go back and dig up all of the things of the past, that's right. And I can tell you that if it hadn't been for Trump, there would be an awfully lot of the alligators in the swamp that would still be swimming around.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that maybe Trump's character and personality has got flaws, but then let's pick up a bunch of rocks off the ground right now, and let's start throwing them at the people that are pure and innocent as the driven snow. I know I'm not. I know you're not. I know that a lot of people think they are perfect, but they're not. But to go after a sitting president that, quite frankly, has accomplished a lot, even with the adversaries of the Democrats trying to throw everything down the toilet. This man has done a lot for this country, and Mitt Romney, in my opinion, has lowered his stature to the point where I would never, ever vote for him again.
Well, he did a lot of good for Utah when the Olympics was on there, and then to come around like I'm just sadly disappointed. I'm sorry to say.
I agree with you, and thank you for calling, and you and your lovely wife have a super wonderful 2019. God bless you.
And Zeb, I did appreciate your cowboy the last week. You did a really good job.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And the very best to you for a great new year. Thank you.
Will do.
Thank you very much. That is a dear friend, and Bert Stevenson, of course, a longtime representative for our great state of Idaho. Caller, I'll be right there. Please don't go away. I want to remind everybody about Dino Septic Service. Oh, yeah, they do a job that you and I don't want to do. I mean, the septic tank pumping and the water and sewer lines installed and the sewer and sink drain lines cleaned and the liquid waste removal. Oh, my, I don't want to do that. They do. They do a wonderful job. They've expanded their business to better serve everybody. So all you have to do is call them at 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. They are the best at what they do. Dino Septic Service. Remember the name. Dino Septic Service with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Dad hung up a while ago.
Oh, I apologize, but callers, please, hold on a second. I bit my tongue with my cough drop. I want to remind everybody, give me just a little time and I'll get right to you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome and, like I say, appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The government shut down, and it is over the last 12 days between Christmas, New Year's. It has been really an education for me to sit there and almost get channel finger to the point where my remote was going tick, 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 back and forth to get MSNBC, CNN, all the radicals on the air to see what they had to say about the government shutdown and, the damnation of Donald Trump. Oh, the damnation of this administration. And quite frankly, I hope the shutdown goes on until that this administration gets what they are after and what they promised to the American public during the last political season for the election. Don't weaken Mr. President. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. I agree with what you just said. I called about Mitt Romney. I agree with when he said that he lost respect for Mitt when he said what he did about President Trump during the elections and after the election. But anyway, my comment is he is definitely no Orrin Hatch.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I have family that live in Utah, and they actually supported Mr. Kennedy that was running in the primaries against Mitt. And I know Mr. Kennedy, and he is honest and a true patriot. And I felt really bad that he lost the primary. He just didn't have enough money. Like most of us that really love our country and want to do the best for our country, we don't have that kind of money that career politicians have.
Let me ask you a question right there. You sound like a very conscientious person that studies and listens to what people say. When Romney and his family, they were running for the presidency, it takes a family affair, quite frankly, with all the family members to really be in their corner. And I had members of the Romney family on my program. And I was at one time a big Romney supporter. I thought he was a great gentleman. I thought he had a lot of good viewpoints on not only world affairs, but also nationally with our economy and everything else. Now, after hearing all the backbiting, and it's not the first time he's done this before, I would never support him, or if I got a call from any of his campaign people, I wouldn't even want them on my program, knowing that with the backbiting, all he was doing is using Donald Trump as kind of a whipping boy, and I don't like that.
I totally agree. I supported Romney, too. I thought he was the better choice. Actually, I still do think he was the better choice. But and I think he's got a wonderful family. But I just feel like he is trying to take the place of John McCain and Flake. And you know what? If he does pursue that, he will end up like John McCain and Flake.
Yeah.
He won't be in the Senate very long.
You are extremely astute, because that's right here on my notes I was going to talk about. Jeff Flake, Bob Corker, and others. I'm glad to see them gone. Jeff Flake was nothing more than the schoolyard tattletale. That's all he was. And I'm glad to see him gone, but I agree with you. Now it looks like Mitt Romney's trying to take their place.
And I felt that way from the first day he announced that he was going to run, that he was going to try and take Flake's place.
Yeah.
Well, Flake is a flake. And if Romney wants to become a flake, he won't last long in Utah. I really believe that.
I think you're 100% right, and it's a treat to talk to you. Please call again. You're a very nice lady. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hey, Zeb.
Yes.
For the lunch, my advertising on the lunch hungry thing. Okay.
Well, now I know who this is. God bless you, and thank you. That's very nice of you. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, what a nice lady. She is absolutely one of our faithful advertisers, and I really appreciate her. Thank you so much. And, of course, we're talking about Phyllis at the AC Drive-In. Thank you so much. That was very kind. Very kind. Thank you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It just goes back to the point of I did not like, I've said this before, I'm going to repeat it again here this morning so that you can all remember, I didn't like Obama from the get-go. I did not like Obama from when he threw his name in the ring back in 2007. I did not like anything about him. I did not trust him. I did not like the man. Color had nothing to do with it. Nothing. I did not like his politics or his viewpoints. But when he was president, I can name you chapter and verse and cite the different programs. There were different issues that when he did things right, according to what I thought should be done and others thought should be done in certain situations, I praised him. But for Romney to sit there as kind of the guy that had his football taken away and denigrate the president time after time after time after this president did endorse him and helped him win that senatorial post from Utah, I find that extremely sleazy. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, and they've got three locations to serve you in this great state of Idaho. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. Hello, Juan. I met Juan face-to-face for the first time over the Christmas holidays. Yes, good old boy. And then I almost ran into him later at an intersection. It was close. Anyway, and then another location at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, Eli, and the Napa location. They've got all the Bobcats and the Doosan equipment sales and service. Remember, the best of equipment rentals and retail equipment sales. Barry Equipment and Rental, with offices to serve you in Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. Really, really good folks. Oh, I know some other good folks, too. And I got to get this out to you. And that, of course, is our dear friends, and they have been for a long time, on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, Quality's Electronics. Hello, Bruce, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. And don't forget, they've got their after-Christmas sale extended for another week. Oh, my goodness. TVs, soundbars, lift recliners. Did you know they had lift recliners? They do. And they're really neat. You can really comfortize your home and your living room with those lift recliners and TV bases. They've got it all for you. And home security DVR systems, too. Check it all out at Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. All right, your turn. give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There appears to be more proof that Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas from Massachusetts, it looks like she is going to run for the presidency in 2020. Her, along with, what is there now for the Democrats, like 38? I'm not kidding you. There's the governor of, what was it, Oregon or Washington this morning just claimed, I can't remember, I just heard it as I walked into the studio, and I think they've got about 38 people that want to become president all of a sudden of the Democratic left. Well, she is in Iowa, she being Elizabeth Warren. She went to Iowa, and anytime a candidate or a proposed candidate or a not-so-secret candidate wants to kind of let the public know they are more than just thinking about running for the presidency, goes to Iowa and kind of stumps around a little bit at some of the major cities, you know that she's laying the groundwork. But really, I would like your opinion. How can anyone honestly respect or imagine Elizabeth Warren as a president and a person that would be a feared world leader? Ay, ay, ay. She is unbelievably incompetent, and she has proven she is not to be trusted or believed. And she's running. And somebody was talking to me this weekend. I was on the phone quite a bit over the last couple of days. And one party said, can you imagine Elizabeth Warren as president? I said, I know. She's in Iowa right now and stumping around the country. And imagine a ticket. Imagine a ticket that would be so far left and Looney Tunes like Elizabeth Warren and Ocasio-Cortez. Beam me up, Scotty. There's no more intelligent life left on this planet. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. I give her 1 in 1,024th chance of winning.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, that's her, how much Indian blood she has in her.
And you know, it's really fitting, and Wheels, we got a little feedback here, but it's really fitting to go use a line from the Dumb and Dumber movies. Oh, you're telling me there's still a chance. Well, I'll tell you what, Dumb and Dumber fits that situation.
It does. This gal has no credibility at all. Someone who lied and used her lie to secure a job as a professor.
Yeah.
One class, and so you're going to trust her with all of our government secrets and our government security?
You know, I won't tell you exactly what the name or the verbiage was. When somebody was referring to Elizabeth Warren here, they called me on Saturday. But let's just say that it reminds you... No, I'm not even going to go there. I better not even start because I'll give the ghost away here. Elizabeth Warren has no qualities that would endear her to almost anyone as president. I can't even imagine why she would want to waste the time and the effort. I thought Bernie Sanders was a kook and a crackpot, but we're talking way down the food chain with Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, and what would even be scarier yet, Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton.
Don't even go there.
That would be that would be a nightmare.
I don't think that could ever happen as a ticket, and I'll tell you why, because the egos would get in the way.
Egos are the dumbness, one of the...
Yeah.
That'd be the Dumb and Dumber right there.
But really, 38, I'm not exaggerating. I honestly believe, I think I've heard 37 or 38 names mentioned about people that are considering a run for the presidency on the Democratic left. I mean, they've got some Looney Tunes all the way to some like that are constructive Democrats, like Joe Biden and everything. But, you know, most of them are way out there on the left that I wouldn't give them a snowball's chance in the oven.
I wouldn't either. Yeah, well, Romney would be another one to run on the Democrat Party, too.
Well, Romney will never get my support. He's done this so many times, Doug, in the criticisms, and it's almost like I'm holier than you are, and I'm going to tell everybody how holy I am, and I'm going to blast you. That doesn't cut the cake with me.
No, and it'll be interesting in the weeks to come what the people of Utah, the residents of Utah, what they're going to do about this, because I know that is not the way they feel.
Well, I know a lot of folks down there from my rodeo days, and I'll tell you what, I agree with you. I just don't think that's going to be the chocolate sauce on the vanilla sundae, I'll tell you that.
No, it isn't.
Thank you for your call, buddy.
Oh, one quick thing before I go. You know, you might be a redneck if you decorated your Christmas tree with silly string.
You know, it was a sad day yesterday. On New Year's, my wife always takes down all the Christmas decorations. And I am one of these kind of guys that I want them up absolutely the day after Thanksgiving. And then I want them to stay up till, I don't care, 4th of July. I'm sad about that.
I know it. I walked in the house, the other day, my wife took them down. I think it was Monday when I was at work. I come in and I sat down. She said, "Notice anything?" And I look. Oh, tree's gone.
Yeah, I mean, that tree, and she had the whole house all fixed up so that it looks like kind of Mrs. Santa Claus's North Pole living room and everything. It was beautiful the way she had it all set up. And I miss all those lights. My power bill probably is going to be a lot happier, but it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, you're lucky like me. Your wife is very creative and does a fantastic job.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, man, thank you much.
You bet.
All right, take care. We're going to get a weather forecast on the air right now, and then I'll take some more of your calls. And our weather is brought to you by some really great people at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Where are they? They're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and you can call them right now. Right now. I've got two numbers, 312-0957 or 314-9995 for a risk-free treatment consultation. You get a hold of them today. They can help you with your hearing problems. The best at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You call them today. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this January 2nd, and we are going to see some sunshine for today, but the winds are going to be sticking around, and the wind chill factor going to make it cold. We are expecting a high of 21 under mostly sunny skies, but that wind chill values as low as -7, winds out of the east right around 10 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 12. Tomorrow, again, more sunshine in the forecast. Winds out of the east right around 8 miles an hour, and we are expecting a high of 27 by tomorrow night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 17. Warming up for Friday, if you want to consider it a warm-up. Partly sunny skies, high of 34, then mostly cloudy and 24. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina, and brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Don't forget, I'll give you a couple of numbers. Write them down. Give them a call. They can help you with any hearing problems. And the numbers are 312-0957 or 314-9995. Call today, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You know, with all the problems in the world today and all the items that bear our interest and concern, there was a 2-column story in the newspaper a couple of days ago that I thought, have we not got something a lot better to do with our time and our money to be concerned about? A study that took a lot of money, and it was put on by the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada, up in Ontario, Canada. It took a lot of money, but they were trying to figure out if chickens are happy. When I started reading this, I could not believe it, because these people at this research university were trying to study to see if chickens are happy and feeling like having fun when they play with a fake earthworm. Now, like I said, terrorism, the economy, all kinds of other social unrest programs that need to be addressed, and we're spending money, not we personally, but up there in Canada, it'll probably happen here too, to see if chickens are happy. They said in recent years, the animal welfare world has moved beyond looking at how to minimize suffering to exploring whether animals are also enjoying their lives and smiling every day. I personally do not care one little inch if a chicken is happy and smiling internally, playing with a fake worm. Would you please call me and let me know your thoughts with all the problems in the world today, and then they get money for studying chicken happiness? Calls are welcome, 436-2244-1. I'm not making this stuff up. 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call, please. Oh, my goodness. One good thing that I'm really tickled to see is and hear about is that over the last couple of days, while I've been off enjoying a little bit of a recess from the program and enjoying some time here at home to get some things caught up, is there appears to be a growing uprising around the world, not just here in the United States by any means, but around the world against global elitism. People are saying, oh, the left. Oh, those global elitists, get out of my life, go away. Whether it's in Paris, France, whether it's over in Brazil, or whether it's even here in the United States, people are having enough of this global elitism. Oh, we know better than you how to live your life, and we're going to take control of your thermostat. We're going to take control of whether or not you have personal freedoms to drive to the grocery store. We're going to take control of everything. Just sit back and absorb like a sponge because we, the global elitists, are in control. And I say, to heck with that. I am glad that the new president of Brazil has stood up and said he wants to be like Trump and, quite frankly, tell the global elitists to take a long walk off a short pier. And I don't know about you, but it's working. A lot of people around the world are not as in tune to globalism as the globalists want us to be. I am proud of this United States of America. I am proud of our achievements. I'm proud of what we can do in the future to help all of mankind. I don't want to be a globalist. Calls are welcome. Give me a jingle. 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the way, with all the weather in the wintertime, you know, the snow and the ice and the mush and the slush and everything else, anything that the roads throw at you, be ready with the best of tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. All the different tread designs, all the sizes for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs. I'm telling you what, these people really, really care, and service is their primary concern. Absolutely. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. That's a fact. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Caller, I've got a minute and a half. Go ahead, please.
Well, it won't take me that long. I cannot believe that mere humans think that we are smarter than God and that we can question his decisions and he will listen to us and change his ways.
Absolutely.
That's why people are so far from the Creator and the mighty one up above that they think they are stronger than him.
And it's getting worse every day.
I think those of us that should and know are not telling our story very good.
Right there, Chris, you've hit the nail right smack dab through the board, because I've said whether it's pastors and ministers or church leaders, whatever, we are not standing up and saying enough is enough. We are not directing the problem right back to us. We've got to stop the problem before it gets to the point where our words, our thoughts, our churches standing up at the pulpit are going to be all in the past. We're not standing up and fighting back.
Well, yes, and the thing is, we've lost a couple of the leaders in the Christian leadership in our country, and do we miss them? Boy, do we.
Amen.
And so where are the people, you and I, who are going to take up the mantle and get back to work?
Amen. Chris, I want to wish you, you're such a nice lady, a very happy New Year. I've got to go to the news right now, but please, I'll look forward to you calling in more. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'll be calling.
Okay, thank you. All right. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to have the news from CBS come on, and then we'll be back. We've got Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, kind of giving us a legislative preview as to what's going to happen this year. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Oh my, and away we go. It's going to be doggone cold for the next couple of days. I don't like cold. I got the heat in here turned up, and then when Deanne opens the door to come in the studio, she goes, "Oh my goodness, this is a sauna bath." Well, I don't like being cold. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they've got all the tires for all your vehicles for safe wintertime driving. You stop in and see them today, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, start the new year off right with our good friends with Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services always at your disposal, and it's true. And I urge you to get on the route service for this year, 2019. Oh, my goodness. All you have to do is call them and just tell them that you need to get on the route service so they can come by weekly and pick up your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Western Waste Services. The number to call, 734-6969. That number again, 734-6969. The best. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Want to tell you, too, another great business, and I wish them a lot of success on this because I think it's such a great service to the seniors around the area that want to stay in their homes. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley with Holly Rowe, and they can help seniors that want to stay at home, and maybe they might need a little help with meal preparation or personal hygiene or maybe light housekeeping or maybe running some errands, whatever. Please call and find out more. And the number, 312-5715. They're now taking Medicaid and VA approved, and they would just love to serve you. 312-5715. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. Well, we're just a matter of days away from the legislative session, and I'm always honored to have this gentleman come on our program. And I just thank him for his time. He's the John Wayne, a real cowboy, and then also Speaker of the House, Representative Scott Bedke. God bless, man. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
Well, I'm good. Have you made a whole list of like 375 New Year's resolutions, or what do you do?
Well, I can't believe a year's gone by already since I didn't lose 15 pounds and become a better person.
Well, I got to tell you, the minute Christmas was over, I started a diet, and I am going to lose those 15 pounds. But let's talk about what's coming on in the next couple of days. I'd like you to give us kind of an overview, first of all, of the legislative session for this year, when it starts, and what some of the hot issues are.
Well, the legislative session officially starts this coming Monday on the 7th. But we have a new governor to be inaugurated, and so the inaugural services will be on Friday and Saturday, and where he'll be sworn in on the steps of the Capitol, and then there'll be a kind of an inaugural ball and a processional type of function that evening, and anyway, we're looking forward to that part of it. I'm looking forward to serving with Governor Little, and I think he'll do a really good job as the governor. He'll have one hayseed to another, so to speak, and but he's got his work cut out for him. I mean, we've got Idaho. Things are going very well in Idaho, and I think it's incumbent upon him to kind of stay the course and keep Idaho a great place to have your kids in school, and so that of course is going to be a main driver this coming session. We're transitioning from a per classroom based approach of funding to a per student based approach, given the fact that the students today are a lot more mobile than they were, 25, 30 years ago. They don't stay in the bricks and mortar building that they, like the students did back, a couple of decades ago. They're online. They're taking dual credit from, in our area, CSI. They're traveling to the tech centers and as well as spending time within the traditional schools. So this new approach will allow the money to follow the kid in each one of those into each one of those areas. So that's going to be a big deal. Last year with the Trump tax cuts, I mean they gave the states about 15 minutes to get organized and to prepare for that. So we're going to be taking a look at that, making sure that it truly is a tax cut, and that there are that there's some citizens don't fall through the cracks on that. As you recall, the voters passed Proposition 2 and dumped into the legislators the legislation that was passed by the initiative, but dumped into the legislators' lap the problem of funding it. And there was no funding source in the initiative that the voters passed, and so that's going to have to horn its way up to the manger, so to speak, for adequate funding. And that's going to be an issue too, because we had a gap population problem of about 61,000 Idahoans that fell into the Medicaid gap. They made too much to be on Medicaid, not enough to be on the state exchanges for the insurance, and that was a real problem. But the law that was passed here makes the eligible population go from 61,000 people to about 94 or 5,000 people, and it's full-blown Medicaid expansion as it would have been 5 years ago. And so depending on who you talk to, they're either really in favor of that or really against it, and so that is going to be an issue that drives us. You've probably seen in the newspapers that we have prisoners that we're farming out to prisons down in Texas. So our prisons are full here, and so that's going to drive the discussion on, well, do we need to have a new prison or enlarge the one that we have? Should we revamp the way we are sentencing guidelines? Those type of things. The use of opioids and substance abuse continues to be an issue in Idaho. anyway, there's plenty of things for us to talk about, not least of which is water. I mean, as you remember, this summer we just about had a special session over the water issues. We got them resolved, but in that resolution was that one of the first things that we did in this legislative session was to pass the piece of the water legislation that we would have done in the special session, which has to do with the fill and the refill of the reservoir system in the Boise River. So there's that. We've got some loose ends on the Eastern Snake Plain Aquifer water agreement. That's got a couple of loose ends. The city's finally settled with the Surface Water Coalition, and so that's got to be codified. And anyway, there's just plenty of things to do, Zeb.
I want to, if I can, I want to back up for a little bit, and then I want to go back to Prop 2. But first of all, I want to ask you this. You, as Speaker of the House, have had the luxury of working and knowing former Governor Butch Otter. And the same can be said now of Governor-elect Brad Little. And what do you see as any major changes in personalities between the two that perhaps you need to kind of tweak a little bit and do differently, or are you going to be on the same trail?
Well, we'll be on the same trail, generally speaking. While I was good friends and am good friends with Governor Otter, and the same could be said with Brad Little. He and I knew each other from before either one of us were in the legislature. We were both active in the livestock industry and in the state organizations and the national organizations having to do with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the Idaho Cattle Association, the Public Lands Councils, etc. We were well acquainted back before either one of us came to the legislature. So Brad's approach is going to be a little bit different than Butch's, if I could use their first names. I certainly mean neither of them to any disrespect, but I know them both well. And Brad will be more of it's a Butch handles issues probably at 10,000 feet, and Brad may swoop down to 1,000 or 2,500 feet every now and then. He is a policy guy, and that's what he's been doing for the last 30 years, is working on policy. So he knows a lot about policy, not only in natural resources, but also in just the way state governments function. Certainly in the financing side of state government, he doesn't need a lot of staff there because he already, he knows that stuff. And Governor Otter did as well. But their management styles are going to be a little different, I believe. Brad is going to put, well, it's not to say that Butch didn't, but he'll put emphasis on getting the kids, reading at grade level by the end of third grade. I think there'll be renewed focus on that. I think that Brad is going to be more about workforce development for him is less about getting a college degree and more about getting a job. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's going to be a slight shift in direction there on workforce development. But they both have Idaho's. Butch had Idaho's interests at heart. I mean, he lived that, and so does Governor-elect Little. And I'm just looking forward to working with him. But I have a job to do in the legislative branch. He's in the executive branch, and I'm in the legislative branch, and one of the leaders of the House is in the legislative branch. So we have a job to do. We have a check and balance system. And regardless of how well we know each other and how well acquainted we have been through the years and how good of friends we are, he knows he has a job to do, and I certainly know that I have a job to do. And his job is not, and my job is not to always get along with the executive branch. And we're a check and balance on their power and on ours, and that's how we'll go forward.
Mr. Speaker, let me say this, and you probably know this by listening to the program, that when the election was held this last fall and the propositions, I was extremely in support of Proposition 1 for the horse racing issue and also a betterment and basically a growth of the horse industry as one of our major ag compartments of the United States and for the state of Idaho. It failed. Proposition 2, I had some unanswered questions, and I was concerned, and the funding of Proposition 2 was what I was concerned about the most. I see this, and tell me if I'm wrong, I see Proposition 2 and the study and the research that has to go into it now to figure out where the dollar bills are going to come from. This could play a major time role in the legislative session. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right, Zeb. As I described, are the changes we're trying to make in public schools. None of those changes, all of those changes are going to come with a little increased cost to taxpayers. Now, the good news is that the economy is going along pretty well, and that we're growing, and but we also know that you don't have to read very many articles on the business section to know that there's concerns about a slowdown and nationally at least, and the possibilities of some type of a recession. No one is predicting a recession like the one we had in 2008 and the next 3 years then. But I mean, the economies are always cyclical, and so there's that. And another thing that Governor Little has talked about is renewing the 5-year education plan, and getting and keeping Idaho very competitive when it comes to our public schools. And so all of that has been a priority, and now we have the Proposition 2 coming in, and while some of that, I guess we can displace other programs because we will have no need for a county indigent program, for example, or a state indigent program. We can redirect some of the other dollars that we have. But I have never seen a new government program like this one that is needed less money in the future than more. I mean, these things have a way of growing. There are always the proponents of Prop 2 painted a rosy picture, and rarely do the rosy financial assessments ever. It always costs more than everybody says, and revenues always come in a little less than everyone says. So there's going to be a lot of competition for your hard-earned tax dollars, and like you said, it's going to be a driver this session. And if we're still there on the first day of April, then that'll probably be one of the main reasons why.
Scott, let me ask you this, and again, I'm going to show some naivete about the problem or the issue here, so please help me out on this. Due to the fact that the numbers, and I'm talking about people, are not capped, and we don't have a guarantee of capped at 100,000, can't grow any further, or whatever. These numbers are not capped, and with the population increases coming into the state of Idaho, this problem of trying to come up with funding adequately for Prop 2, it looks to me like could be a never-ending tunnel.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I think that while I believe at the end of the legislative session, the legislature will not reverse the voters when it comes to Prop 2, I do believe that there will be attempts, and probably some successful attempts, to put some limitations on what Medicaid expansion in Idaho is going to look like. And I believe that there'll be, we will attempt to put work requirements on that. Keep in mind, we have a pretty robust Medicaid system the way it is right now. If you're handicapped, or if you're, a mother with children, or any, or kids at all, that you're already well covered. This Medicaid expansion is now going into the able-bodied and able-bodied men, and and there's many of us that have that have a little problem with that. And we're all about personal responsibility and not increasing the entitlements to people that can take care of themselves. I think most taxpayers feel that they've got all they can do just to take care of themselves and their family without being piled onto. So, and that sentiment is alive and well in the state legislature. I mean, should there be an asset test? I mean, so if they're hiding assets, if they're driving, if they're cash poor but car or boat or horse trailer or whatever rich, then I don't think that they should qualify. So there should be some type of an asset test or a means test. I think that if you're using illegal, there should be drug testing, and if you fail drug tests, then I think that should put you into some type of a rehab program rather than on Medicaid. And anyway, so there's plenty of things that we can do, I believe, and that the legislature will try to do. And I'm assuming that there will be the votes to do that in the House. I don't know about the Senate; they'll have to speak for themselves. But there will be attempts to draw a hard line around this issue, so that it doesn't run out of control. But you and I both know that despite our good attempts in the past on government programs, they always creep, and that will be the case here. The federal government said for this increased population that they will pay 90 cents out of every dollar that costs. Well, the 10 cents of every dollar is between $40 and $50 million for the state of Idaho. If they change the match rate to the more traditional 30-70, well, then $50 million has now grown to $140, $150 million, and that becomes a budget breaker. And so I think that there are plenty of ways to try to corral this, and I think you'll see us trying to do that.
Scott, I've only got about 2 minutes left, and I want to ask you this too. This issue all comes back to money, 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 as do all the issues that have to be addressed at the legislative session. Do you foresee that as taxpayers of the state of Idaho, we're going to be looking at or possibly reviewing the opportunity, if you will, of having a tax increase on the taxpayers here in our state?
No, I think that we will we'll do our level best. Well, I just do not see all of those measures have to start in the House of Representatives, and I do not see the votes now or in the foreseeable future for raising taxes in Idaho. We're going to have to do all the things we talked about earlier within the budget that we have. So in a like manner, I mean, all of these candidates, promised to take the sales tax off of food eventually. Well, I think that I don't know that that's something that you can do, this coming session. And besides that, they want to use the definition, the food definition that is in the food stamp program. And I think it's fundamentally wrong to, that there should be food stamps given out for pop and soda and sweetened drinks and candy and all the things that you can purchase with food stamps. I don't think that should be the definition that we use if we take the sales tax off of food. I think food is more substantive than that's meat, that's vegetables, that's fruit. Those are the staples in our diet. Those are not prepared meals. Those are not prepared desserts and those types of things.
Right.
So there's plenty of work to do on that issue as well.
I want to say how much I appreciate your taking the time this morning, Scott, to come on our program. I'm talking to a very, very nice gentleman, Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, and the legislative session starting this next Tuesday, the 7th, Monday actually, the 7th, pardon me. And hopefully we'll be getting you back on many, many times during the session to discuss these issues. Scott Bedke, God bless you and thank you, and have a wonderful Idaho legislative session. And we appreciate your labor and all you do for the state of Idaho.
So you're welcome, Deb, and Happy New Year to you and Deanne.
Thank you very, very much. I'm out of time, and I just wished I had longer to talk to him. Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, and appreciate him being on the program this morning. We want to remind you, too, about our friends at Hanson Mortuary. Holy moly, yes, Joel Heward and his staff and his family, all of these people, so nice. And, of course, they wished you all the great holiday greetings of Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And now here we are in the brand new year, and they want you to know that they are there. They're right there to serve you. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity, serving you and your family. All you need to do is remember this number and call 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, also, quickly, I want to remind you about our friends over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, Jeff said they've got a brand new arrival of all the floor coverings and the luxury vinyl planks. Oh, my goodness, you can really beautify your home this new year. And they've got all the carpet, and don't forget carpet installation. They are the best at what they do. And they've got 48 months free interest, and don't forget free estimates. All of this and more with the people that really care about the comfort and beauty of your home. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland and Burley. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. By the way, too, I want to remind you about our dear friends over at Let's Ride. Absolutely, this is where the fun is sold. And with all the snow, and boy, you can have a lot of fun playing up in the angel dandruff on the mountains. You better believe it. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Fridays, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. All your snowmobiles, all the accessories, and they've got the best doggone service department to keep you running right there at Let's Ride. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to check out the snowplows for your four-wheelers. I've had mine now for about 2 years. It's really come in handy the last couple of days. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. This is where the fun is sold. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and a great way to start my new year on the radio is with a conversation with this gentleman that I have the utmost respect for. He is a political analyst that really understands what's going on, and he's a master storyteller, author of The Brotherhood of the Red Nile Trilogy. Dan Perkins, good morning, sir. Happy New Year.
Good morning and Happy New Year to you, Zeb. Thank you for having me on.
You know, Dan, of all the things that are going on right now, I really would like to center, and I've got some other questions about fuel and gasoline here in just a little bit, but I want to talk about Syria. And I want to ask you about President Trump saying that we're going to pull troops from Syria. And my concern is, should we be saying anything about a pulling out or even an addition of troops to the enemy? Does that give them too much information?
Well, first of all, I don't think if pulling the troops out is as big an issue as some in the media want to make it. And I'll give you some rationale. First of all, there are about 2,000 American troops there, primarily in an advisory and training capacity. They are not engaged with the enemy, by and large. Number two, a much greater impact on that organization is what's going on in the oil markets. In October, we had West Texas Intermediate crude at about $73 a barrel. It went down to 42 in the last 2 weeks. I was just telling your screener, I've been on vacation visiting family through the holidays, and I left Columbus, Ohio on Monday morning in my car and filled up for $1.57 a gallon.
Wow.
Now, we're down in Florida, and it's over $2 a gallon. But the point is this. If we look at energy as a part
or the percentage of the gross domestic product of 4 countries, we begin to understand something. Number one, energy. The energy sector is little less than 6% of the gross domestic product of the United States. Number two, 2.5%. In Saudi Arabia and Russia, it's 70%. That means that in the case of Saudi Arabia and Russia, 70% of their export dollars come from the sale of crude oil. Now, if we've seen a 45% decline in the price of crude oil, the available dollars that Saudi Arabia and all the other Middle Eastern nations, that oil countries have less and less money, and they need to take care of their people first, so it means they have less and less money to supply money for arms and armament for the terrorist organizations. Now, with that decline in the economy of the countries because of the decline in the price of crude oil, it puts more pressure on the governments, and the political unrest in those countries is growing because there's less and less money to support the needs of the people that the government's paid. This is especially true in Iran, which not only has suffered the lower prices, but is now under a new U.S. embargo as of the 15th of November in reduction. They are the third largest exporting nation in the world. So if the money isn't there to take care of their people, then the amount of money available to support terrorist organizations and their activities diminishes rapidly. I'd much rather cut off the supply of money than worry about the 2,000 American advisors that are in Syria.
Let me ask you a question, and I'll probably show some naivete on this, Dan, so bear with me. But by cutting off the money, per se, that would allow those countries to flourish and furbish money to terrorism, aren't we also going to have to be afraid of the snake that's going to say, I'm going to go bite the United States because our economic source has been cut off, and so we're going to go after, and they might be an increased enemy against us? Is that a possibility?
No, because that's a great question, Seth. But here's the other practical reality, if you would, the other shoe. For the first time in 75 years, since Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president in 1943, the United States of America is now energy independent, which means it does not require to import any crude oil from anybody in the world in order to meet its energy needs. That's number one. Number two, we are now the largest producer of crude oil in the world. And number three, we are exporting over 2 million barrels of oil and 750,000 barrels of gasoline every day out of the United States. So we don't depend on anybody in the Middle East. And what we had is following OPEC again. OPEC recently had a meeting in Vienna around Thanksgiving, and decided to cut production 1.8 million barrels a day, which they increased in July, and that agreed upon production cut has not bolstered the price of crude oil. So which means that they're going to have to cut the production even more. And what happens when they cut production, we, the American exporters, take over a bigger and bigger market share in the world oil markets, and we become the dominant power. This is something that hasn't happened in our lifetimes. And now we have a situation where the energy power has now moved from the Middle East to the United States.
Okay, Dan, I love what you're saying, and I love the refurbishment of our economy and the growth of our economy and gas and natural gas, all of this. But we have a major faction in this country on the Democratic side of the aisle, whether it's the Elizabeth Warrens or the Cortezes or whomever, that want us to go all totally green, solar and wind only. Here we are, an energy-independent country, supplying energy for the rest of the world, and it would seem to me like these people want us to go regressive at least 25 to 50%, but yet ship the oil to other countries to make them stronger. This is idiocy, but this is what's happening in politics today.
Right, but again, it's a very, very, very important statement that you've made, but I need to bring a perspective. the mainstream media has written story after story after story since the midterm election, talking about all the things that the Democrats are going to do. And the Democrats in the House have talked about all the things that they're going to do. But what the media is not really doing is their job to report to the American people how the constitutional process works in the United States. And I know that a lot of people think, well, that's crazy because everybody knows. No. A recent Rasmussen poll of registered voters said that 75% of the people in this country do not understand how the government functions. Just because the Democrats have control of the House doesn't mean whatever they want to happen is going to happen, because the Republicans control the Senate and the Republican in the presidency. Now, understand that the Congress, the elected officials, can override a presidential veto. However, it takes a two-thirds majority of the House and Senate to overturn a veto. In order for the House to override a presidential veto, they need the following: 100% of all 217 members of the Democratic House and 55 Republicans to switch. Not going to happen. So the idea that people are talking about, Cortez wants to get rid of makes college free. She wants Medicare free for everybody. There are Democrats who are saying that we should be we should give everybody $1,000 a month tax free. All these programs that they want to do, they want to get rid of the Trump tax cuts. It's not a fait accompli, because the legal process, the legislative process, is going to stop that from happening. And so we have to put that in context about what they're saying. They do not, because they control the House, they do not control the government. And too much of the media, which has favored the Democrats, is exactly saying that the Democrats are in charge. No, they're not. The Senate is still in charge by Republicans. We've got a Republican president, and we've got a veto problem that the Democrats in the House could never override the presidential veto. So a lot of the people are writing about all the things that the Democrats are going to be able to do, and in reality, if the Republicans don't like it, it ain't going to happen.
You know, I want to go back a little bit, if you don't mind, to ISIS. And nobody that I've had on my program, I think, knows more about this situation than you do. You've written about it, and you've been very, very interesting to have on this program. I'm concerned that maybe we've cut the snake in half, but we haven't cut the head off and buried the whole damn body. My concern is that ISIS is still here in this world. There is a cancer factor to where it's going to grow, and I think money situations are going to possibly come in from China and Russia to support these kind of terrorist acts against the United States. How wrong am I?
Well, everybody's entitled, hopefully, in our country, everybody's entitled to their opinions, regardless of whether it's accurate or not. So you're entitled to your opinion. Whether you're wrong or not, I won't judge. I would say to you, I don't have the concerns that you have. I have a different set of concern about ISIS. And the concern that I have is not that we have to deal with them in the Middle East, is that they're building. Look what they're doing in Europe in trying to take over France and Germany and England, trying to change the government over to a Sharia law. Mm-hmm. Little by little, they're trying to do that. ISIS has influence in over 32 countries around the world, and they are a force to be reckoned with. And until the world is ready to deal with that threat, it will continue to be a threat. But it won't come from Syria. It will come from leadership in all those other countries around the world.
Mm-hmm. Dan, I would be amiss if I had you on the program and didn't ask you about this problem with Mitt Romney and President Trump. I said earlier this morning in my first hour that I have lost any and all respect for Mitt Romney after he tried his presidential bid against Obama and failed because he wasn't strong enough to stand up on certain issues. And then, of course, he damned and condemned President Trump after he's been taken office, and Trump came came back and helped endorse him for the Senate position in the state of Utah. And then this last weekend, Mitt Romney came out again and said that, quite frankly, President Trump hasn't shown the character necessary to be in the Oval Office. What are your thoughts about Mitt Romney and what's he trying to do? Why is he trying to do it? And what do you think's going to happen?
I don't know why he's trying to do it, unless, and this is only conjecture on my part, Zeb. I have no proof of this, unless he is trying to fulfill the legacy of John McCain. John McCain was not a supporter of Donald Trump. He was the one vote that prevented the overturning of Obamacare, and he was a thorn in the president's side all the time that over the 2 years that he was elected, and even during the campaign. What he's trying to do, I think, is that he's trying to create himself or put himself in a position to be the moral leader of the Republican Party. And he's going to be the junior senator, but he's trying to build a constituency. I don't think he's going to try and run again for president, but never say never in politics. But I do think that he feels that he wants to be the moral compass of the Republican Party, and therefore he has to stand up and criticize the way Donald Trump behaves, acts, and speaks. And I have to tell you, very personally, I'm really getting tired of those people who are talking about, well, I don't like the way he speaks, or I don't like the language he uses, or whatever. I look at what he's done from an action standpoint. I mean, we had conversations over the week between Christmas and New Year's where we may have made significant progress with China on a trade agreement. I also think that this issue of the wall and the Democrats looking at $5 billion, this is a personal issue. This is no longer national security or anything else. These people basically want to deny Mr. Trump everything they possibly can. And so I think Romney sees that, and he's trying to build a position for himself, an area of the ground he would to stake out.
I agree. Totally agree. We have a quick caller. I've got 3 minutes left. Caller, go ahead quickly, please.
They hung up, sir.
Dan, I want to ask you one final thought. Looking into a crystal ball, not trying to tie you to this issue whatsoever, I just want your thoughts on it. Are you optimistic about the next 2 years of not only foreign diplomacy, but also right here in this country with this Trump administration? Or are you going to see more of the infighting, do you think, with the Democrats absolutely still not willing to concede that they lost the 2016 election?
That's a great question. My crystal ball says that given the adversarial nature of the House, I think the Democrats are going to make a terrible, terrible mistake. They are going to immediately try and attack Mr. Trump on various fronts, and they're not going to offer anything constructive to the American people. And if Mr. Trump is smart, which I believe he is, I think Mr. Trump will ignore that and focus more of his attention on diplomacy and working around the world to lower the trade barriers and create a great opportunity for economic expansion for the United States. If the Democrats come across and they go after the president with their hearings and they try to impeach him, that's also a loser. But I think what's going to happen is that he will switch, as I said, to foreign policy and will set up the 2020 election, which would be potentially, if that's the way the Democrats want to go, potentially will be another Walter Mondale 49-1 defeat for the Democrats in 2020, because the American people will not stand for it.
Well, Dan, I want to say to you, you've always been Mr. Reliable coming on this program. We certainly appreciate it and extend to you and your family a very happy New Year. Thank you for coming on the show. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Dan Perkins, the author of The Brotherhood of the Red Nile Trilogies, political analyst, and thank you for being on the show this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. Take care.
God bless. Thank you very much. Love having him on the air because he's going to tell it like it is, and he always does. Dan Perkins, and talking about ISIS and oil, everything else, and the Trump administration. And we appreciate him being on the air. Anytime I can get him on his schedule to be here, he will be here. Want to remind? Oh my goodness, we got to get a weather forecast on here right now. Yeah, buddy. The weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, and they have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. Boy, that's a tribute right there. Over 50 years of serving you with the best of tax return preparation and tax planning and financial statement preparation and retirement planning, all of this and more. Excellent people, professional people serving you at 2 locations, Burley and Rupert. Don't forget to get a call into them today. Make an appointment. They can help you with all your family and business needs. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Get a hold of them today. Right now, let's find out how cold it's going to be. Here's Gina.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this January 2nd, and we are going to see some sunshine for today, but the winds are going to be sticking around, and the wind chill factor going to make it cold. We are expecting a high of 21 under mostly sunny skies, but that wind chill values as low as -7, winds out of the east right around 10 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 12. Tomorrow, again, more sunshine in the forecast. Winds out of the east right around 8 miles an hour, and we are expecting a high of 27 by tomorrow night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 17. Warming up for Friday, if you want to consider it a warm-up. Partly sunny skies, high of 34, then mostly cloudy and 24. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my goodness sakes, here we are in a brand new year, 2019. We'll start it off right and get together with the professionals that can help you and your business. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert, the best serving you. And don't forget, they've got offices, like I said, in Burley and Rupert, and they bring you the weather at 10:45. 9:45. Thank you very much. My goodness sakes, my watch is set. I got the wrong wristwatch on. I got it set for the wrong time. Anyway, now that that's been cleared up, I also want to remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I know that's where they are. By golly, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, and more, with people that are dedicated in serving you. And that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Hello, Todd and the crew over there, and they wish all of you a brand new, happy new year. Number to call, make an appointment, and find out more, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You get a hold of them today. I wonder how many of you have already been like me. I was writing out some checks earlier this morning and had to go back and put the 9 instead of the 8. How many of you have written out checks this morning already and said, no, it's not 2018, it's 2019. It takes me a while to get oriented to that new year. Somebody had called a moment ago. Give me a call back. I'd love to hear from you at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like to hear from you, so give me a call. Let's see, what else have I got here? Oh, in New York today, in New York City today, with the likes of Big Bird, Bill de Blasio, the city mayor, etc., they are now going to allow you to put an X on the gender for the birth certificate of your child. In other words, your children, as of today in New York City, can be gender neutral on the birth certificate. This is just another sample of the complete idiocy that's going on in this world, not just in this country, but in this world today. And what about the future for that child? That child is going to be brought up into a family where, oh, you're not a boy. Oh, you're not a girl. You're just an X. You're basically a nothing. And what about during the school years? Kindergarten, grade school, elementary school. You're not a boy. You're not a girl. You're just an X. All the way through your school years and on into young adulthood, if you ever achieve it. You're just an X. Your driver's license, nobody knows who you are or what you are because you don't know who you are or what you are. It just says gender X. What about security? Well, you're going to be flying on airplanes all over the world, but we don't know who you are because it's just gender X. This lunacy should be deemed unlawful. This lunacy should be put asunder. This lunacy should never be brought up. It's absolutely tearing apart the fabric and value of this, a great country, the United States. I will not weaken on this issue. Never. I find that it's not only disgusting, but I find that it's going to be very costly to you and I and other taxpayers. And for what reason? That's what I want to ask you. For what reason? Somebody call me and let me know why. With biologic studies all through mankind's history, male and female, all of a sudden, no. There is an X factor. I have no respect for it whatsoever. Let's see, next hour. Whoa, am I looking forward to having him on the air. Robert Spencer, and he's the author of The History of Jihad, is going to be on. And there were quite a few politicians that really came after him in the last couple of months. And MSNBC's Malcolm Nance said that he was the Islamophobe, and we're going to be talking about Islamophobia and the Islamic push all across the world, and especially right here in this country. And that's Robert Spencer at 10:06, and then at 10:32 this morning, we're going to be talking to a gentleman by the name of Justin Torres. He's never been on this program before, and I'm looking forward to having him come on and talk about Democratic power at the voting polls with the increase of all the different Democratic congressional districts. We're going to be talking about that. So, leave the dial right where it's at, 12:30 a.m., Zeb at the Ranch, and we're going to send it back over to Wheels right now in a minute. And remind you, if you have any public service events that are coming up, I want to urge you to send them to me on my email at zebattheranch@hotmail.com. Don't forget, zebattheranch@hotmail.com. We'll try to really put them on the air for you in this first couple of days of the new year 2019. So keep that in mind. zebattheranch@hotmail.com. Send those to me, and we'll plug them as many times as we can. Right now, Wheel's going to send us over to CBS News. We'll be back in about 7. Oh, welcome back. Welcome back on our first day back from the recess of Christmas holidays, New Year's holidays. My goodness, Zeb at the Ranch, good morning to you. And, of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, I want to remind you, too, on Thursdays, that's tomorrow already. Boy, we got a short week this week. I'm loving that. We're going to be having, of course, school days in Cassia County, brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, this is a family store. I urge you to stop in, check out all the clothing, all the baby clothing, all the furniture, the games, puzzles, toys, everything at A Child's World. 1308 Overland in Burley. And like I said, they bring you on Thursdays at 10:10. Cassia County School Days, don't you miss it. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and this gentleman is always welcome on our program because he knows what he's talking about. He is the author of the new book, The History of Jihad, From Muhammad to ISIS. And that, of course, is Robert Spencer. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Just great, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I want to extend to you a very happy new year, first and foremost, and urge you to continue the fight against some of the imbecilic statements like MSNBC, Brian Williams, and others. Why don't you give my audience a little bit of a background about what Brian Williams and Malcolm Nance said about you on the air in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, apparently I'm part of the big Russian conspiracy that has fooled half of America into thinking that Donald Trump is a good man and that it was good to elect him president. And we are apparently manipulating public opinion in all kinds of ways, including, and here Malcolm Nance on MSNBC specifically mentioned me, and Brian Williams nodded sagely and agreed. Apparently, I have hoodwinked Americans at the behest of Russia into thinking that there's actually a threat of Islamic Jihad. I thought it was those guys that flew the planes into the buildings on 9/11, and the Fort Hood jihadi and the Boston Marathon jihadis and so many others. But no, it's actually something that I made up entirely at Vladimir Putin's behest.
You know, Robert, and I'm going to ask my engineer to turn you up a little bit on the sound, if you would, Wheels. I'd appreciate that. But, Robert, what is this situation going on in America today? Whether it's politically, whether it's with the news media that absolutely looks like they're back to Ned and the first-grade reader in kindergarten, what is going on with the acceptance of Islam over and above us here in this country, the United States?
The Islamic groups in the United States have very skillfully aligned themselves with the left and portrayed any opposition, even opposition to jihad terror, opposition to Sharia oppression of women and other groups, as racism and bigotry and Islamophobia, which was a word that they specifically modeled after homophobia. And it's worked. It's worked wonderfully for them. They have been able to fool massive numbers of people into thinking that the real problem in the world is Islamophobia today and people like me, and that there's not really any jihad threat.
I can't understand how people with any education, how people that were raised in the Judeo-Christian country of the United States, people, even Brian Williams, he can't be that dumb, or Malcolm Nance or anyone else. How can they not see the forest for the trees because one jihad tree is standing in the way? Do they not understand that these people, and I'm talking about these people, the jihadists, are looking for every opportunity to try to take over power in this United States?
I think they're so consumed with hatred for Donald Trump, hatred for conservatives, hatred for Judeo-Christian civilization in general, as a matter of fact, and hatred even for America itself, that they don't see anything else, and they don't see the forest for the trees, and they actually think that there's some real threat of Islamophobia. I mean, obviously, no hate crime is ever justified, but the idea that Muslims in the United States are persecuted and harassed on some large scale is simply not borne out by FBI hate crime statistics or anything else, and yet probably most leftists today take that for granted as being axiomatic.
It wasn't that long ago, Robert, that we had one of the imams sit up on a television program and look at the camera and say, it's not going to be long in the distant future that we will see an Islamic flag over the White House. That chilled me, absolutely chilled me when I heard and saw that. And where are we today when today the House reconvenes and there are two Muslim women sitting at their desks?
Well, of course, we're not allowed to ask any questions that might pertain to what they might think of that, because to do so is, here again, racist and bigoted and Islamophobic. And so Ilhan Omar, in particular, the new representative from Minnesota, she wears the hijab. She's clearly then in favor of Sharia. Well, Sharia denies the freedom of speech, the freedom of conscience, the equality of rights of women, and other groups. And so why isn't Ilhan Omar being asked probing questions? John F. Kennedy was asked probing questions about Catholicism when he ran for president, and he clarified his positions on where church law was perceived to be at variance with American law. Now, there are real contradictions between Islamic law and American law, but nobody dares to ask these Muslim congresswomen about that, and that's exactly what reporters ought to be doing.
Well, okay, but therein lies the problem. It seems to me, Robert, and you know this far, far more than I do, but it seems to me that we don't have anybody that's willing to stick their chin out and say this, that, or the other against Islam or against Muslims and what they do or what they don't do. Where is it going to come from? It's not going to come from our news media because I think they're all a bunch of milquetoast cowards. That's my own personal opinion. So where's it going to come from to stop and make people aware of what really is happening?
I think it has to come from us. It has to come from the people, from people like you who have the courage to talk to people like me and who have the courage in the larger sense, of course, to speak honestly about these issues. And, you know, for example, I wrote this book, The History of Jihad, in order to try to raise awareness so that people will realize what we're dealing with, what we're up against, and then demand from our public figures, from our politicians, from candidates, that they deal honestly with this issue and stop with the polite euphemisms and wishful thinking that have dominated the discussion of this issue since 9/11.
In the book, The History of Jihad, I mean, what has happened to you, Robert Spencer, personally, since you've written this? I mean, have you had a hard time trying to talk about it on various talk shows and promote the book? Has there been problems with advertising the book? What has happened to you?
Well, sure. Keith Ellison, the former congressman, the first Muslim congressman, who is now the Attorney General of Minnesota, actually wrote to Jeff Bezos, the head of Amazon.com, demanding that books by so-called hate group leaders. Now, I am a hate group leader according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, but the Southern Poverty Law Center is really a far-left smear group that defines as a hate group leader anyone who dissents from its agenda. So it doesn't really bother me what they call me, but Ellison was wanting Amazon to put teeth on that charge by removing from sale any books like those of me and other people that the SPLC has smeared. And so that's one thing. And, of course, there are other people who they won't even look at the book or consider it or carry it in bookstores in various places because of this defamation from the left. The left is, we have to acknowledge nowadays, is actively working to suppress the freedom of speech and to suppress any kind of dissent from the far left agenda. And I think very few Americans are really aware of just how far that initiative has advanced.
You know, who are some of these people, Robert? I mean, are they professors at various colleges and universities? Are they some of our politicians, our senators and congressmen? Who are these people that are so dumb and so naive that they can't see the problem that has been encroaching upon not only this country but the world? I mean, who are some of these people?
Well, yeah, I think absolutely they're professors. You take, for example, the freedom of speech issue in particular. There are really, it's hard to find professors nowadays who are in favor of the freedom of speech. For the most part, they are completely on board with the idea that dissenting ideas should be suppressed. When I speak at colleges and universities, I'm usually shouted down, or if I'm allowed to speak at all, then it's an extraordinarily hostile crowd because they've been taught by their professors that this is some terrible Islamophobe and that Islamophobia is the real threat, not the jihad. And so this is something that is actively coming out of our colleges and universities today. And, of course, it's also in the establishment media. There's this increasingly accepted idea of hate speech. Now, hate speech is not really a thing. There's not any definition of hate speech. You could say, well, it's hate directed at a certain group of people. Okay. So I say that there is violence in the Quran, which there obviously is, and violence in Islamic history, which there obviously is, and that it's been carried out by people who quote the Quran to justify what they're doing. All these things are readily provable, but a lot of people would say, oh, that's hatred on the part of Spencer. So the problem here is who defines what's hatred? Is it telling unpopular truths? Or is it real hatred directed at a certain group of people, and who decides? And the problem is that the freedom of speech actually applies to even unpopular things being said, but that is being lost in this new clamor about hate speech and this idea that there is some identifiable category known as hate speech that ought to be suppressed. And I've seen it on campuses here again many times. Students have said to me, hate speech is not free speech and does not deserve First Amendment protection, which is a very chilling thing to say because what they're essentially saying is that
So basically, and I agree with you 100%, but basically your premise is now that the First Amendment is dead or dying or on life support.
Yeah, essentially that's it. That it's very seriously imperiled to a degree that most Americans do not realize. And I have had people tell me, I've had lawyers tell me, as a matter of fact, so you got nothing to worry about. The First Amendment is abundantly established by precedent and is supported in law, and it is, after all, a constitutional amendment. Well, you know, the Constitution does not stand up and defend itself. Human beings have to stand up and be willing to defend it. And instead, at the very highest levels, we have had people trying to destroy it. For example, Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State of the United States and came very close to being President of the United States, signed on to a measure at the United Nations while she was Secretary of State, calling on member states to criminalize incitement to religious hatred. Now, here again, who gets to decide what's incitement to religious hatred? Is it anything that some Muslim leader doesn't like? Or is there some more objective criteria? These things were not defined, but it was the Islamic group, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, that was pushing this initiative. And Hillary Clinton signed on. And she explained that while we do have the First Amendment in the United States, but we'll work around it with peer pressure and shaming, getting people to say what we want or not say what we don't want them to say by shaming them. And, of course, that's exactly how the left operates, by smearing people as hateful, as bigoted, as Islamophobic, trying to shame them out of saying things the left doesn't like.
Yeah, Robert, what about our court system? I know in the past when I've had you on this program, we've talked about this a little bit. I'm very, very concerned, more so than just the media. It's our legal system, our judicial system in this country is also under attack to accept Sharia law and some of the proponents of Islam. What are your thoughts about this, and how far down that road have we gone?
Well, there were, in the last few years, there were several anti-Sharia initiatives here and there, and some of them were approved, some of them were voted down. The Islamic advocacy groups in the United States, notably the Council on American Islamic Relations, worked very hard to defeat and discredit any kind of anti-Sharia initiatives, even while insisting that Sharia would never come to the United States. And the funny thing is that, well, Sharia is in contradiction to American law in numerous ways. The denial of the freedom of speech, the denial of equality of rights of women are just part of it. There's many, many more, much more that contradicts American law. So there's nothing wrong with, and indeed we have to at some point criminalize these aspects of Sharia, or else they're going to continue to advance in the United States. But now the initiative to do so has been so stigmatized as Islamophobic that many Americans are afraid to take up this kind of struggle. And so there are areas where Sharia is being implemented. There was a notorious decision by a judge in New Jersey a few years back not to prosecute an accused wife-beater because he was Muslim, and wife-beating is allowed in Islam. This was overturned, but it was an indication that there are American judges who are starting to think, well, maybe we should pay attention to Sharia. And there are special privileges that have been given to Muslims in workplaces all over the country, and Sharia does establish special privileges for Muslims. So there are very bad precedents being set today that we're going to be paying for in the future.
Robert, I'm going to say this, and you can correct me, please do, if you think I'm dead wrong on this, but to the two women, Muslim women, that have won seats in our Congress, are they being used basically as pawns to look as a form of normalcy to the rest of the American public just to get their shoe in the door? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. There was a concerted effort this election cycle to elect as many Muslims as possible. And there were 90 candidates all over the country, various offices at all different levels, running for offices. The idea is exactly this, to normalize Islam, normalize Sharia observance, and make people take for granted that there are going to be Muslims participating in the political process. There is no reason why they could not be part of the political process, but I think that it needs to be clarified. Well, is their first loyalty to Sharia? Do they have the intention to impose aspects of Sharia in the West? Would they like to see them in the West? Can we have this discussion in the United States, or is it just not allowed and going to be buried under charges of racism and bigotry?
When people buy the book, The History of Jihad, From Muhammad to ISIS, I've asked you this before, but I want you to clarify it again, and they read the book and close the last cover, what do you want them to take away from the book?
That everywhere Muslims have gone throughout history, there have been some of them who have waged war against non-Muslims. The reasons why they did this are in the Quran, in Islamic teaching, and they have never been reformed or rejected by any Islamic sect. Consequently, we are going to have the same conflict in the United States. It's not going to be any different here, and we are staking our future on the idea that it is going to be different here. That is foolish, naive, and ill-considered. And the sooner we are able to have a national conversation about this and to call upon American Muslims in the United States to reform these aspects of Islam, or to at least acknowledge that they exist and allow us to discuss them publicly without being smeared and defamed, then the better off we'll be. But that's not likely to happen.
Where can they obtain the book? Please tell my audience.
The History of Jihad is at Amazon.com, at BarnesandNoble.com, and at any self-respecting bookstore.
Last question, and this is kind of speculation on your part, but you're the expert. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being very dangerous, 1 being, not so bad, where are we with the influx of Islam in the United States and they're wanting to assume power?
We're probably at second stage, and that would be 2, I guess, and on the way, moving on up. The Islamic advocacy groups are playing the long game, and America is not very good at the long game. We go through election cycles and don't have much of a historical memory. And the Islamic jihadis have a very long historical memory and are very patient and very tenacious. There have been American generals who have said this war could take 10 years. And I think, how are you so optimistic? This war's gone on for 1400. It ain't going to be wrapped up in the next 10.
Yeah. Final thought. What would you tell my audience? They can't all be talk show hosts and they all can't be on the radio. What would you tell the audience that they can do and should be doing to watch out for this problem?
Well, we need to be calling our elected officials to account. There's been so much fantasy and wishful thinking about this issue. So much of this nonsense, starting with George W. Bush saying Islam was a religion of peace right after 9/11. And so much of it has guided our public policy and led us to make many mistakes. So we need to be holding our elected officials and candidates to account and demanding that they speak truthfully and honestly about this issue.
I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the program again. Robert Spencer, the author of the book called The History of Jihad, From Muhammad to ISIS. Robert, thank you. Hang tough in there, and I'll be right there with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Zeb. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Just absolutely, I've got to get a copy of that book. I've got to read it and have him back. And we all need to be very much more aware of what is happening. I want you to be aware of what's happening with a brand new sponsor on our program, a brand new advertiser, and we'd like to say good morning to Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena, the whole crew, they've got, you're ready for a new year. You're ready to do something for yourself, maybe with a car stereo and the speakers. They've got complete sound systems over there. They've got all the TVs and they're all your electronic needs, home theater systems. They've got it all. They've got it all for you. All you need to do is stop in and see them today at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Really nice people serving you. And don't forget, too, they deliver. So stop into Patterson's today, 421 East Main in Burley. Great folks, and all the sound systems, all the TVs, home theater systems, videos, software, surveillance cameras, everything at Patterson's in Burley. Really good folks. Let me see, what else have I got cooking here? Cold day. I haven't asked him yet, and I don't want to get into a long dissertation, but Wheels, I never did ask you, did you have a good Christmas? I wanted to find out about that.
I did have a good Christmas. I just kind of stayed here around home and, hung out with a few friends and kind of stuck by the family. So it was a good time.
I got to tell you that with the gift that Deanna and I gave you, there is a gentleman in the audience that I talked to just the night before last, and he said, knowing that I had given you a certain gift, he said, you tell Wheels that we're going to be going on the pontoon boat fishing come this next spring, so buddy, you better be ready.
You know, a platoon boat sounds so awesome. And, you know, that's the thing is when I got it and I opened it and everything, I was like, now I definitely have a reason to go fishing this next year because it's beautiful. I love it. Thank you guys for that.
No, you're very welcome, and we're looking forward to going fishing. And I'll tell you, the gentleman that made that opportunity available to us, he's a good old boy, and we'll have a good time. Folks, I want to remind you that a couple of things. First of all, I had some calls during the break about cow pies and coffee cups, our blog that we put out every week. If you want to get on the mailing list, all you have to do is just go to zebbell.com. zebbell.com, click on Cow Pies and Coffee Cups, put your address in there, and we'll make sure that it's mailed to you, okay? And then also, if you have somebody that wants to listen out of the area, we want to be sure and remind everybody, again, go to zebbell.com, click on the audio, and you can also get the video of it. We've got cameras right here in the studio, and you can watch and listen to all the guests that we have on the air every day right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We're making big plans for more in this year 2019 to better serve you and better serve the various subjects and the guests on our program, and we want you to be a part of it. Don't forget, Zeb at the Ranch, Monday through Thursday from 8 to 11, and my old buddy Wheels running the board over at the main studios. Right now, we're going to send it back to old Wheels, and then we'll be back with Justin Torres in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you, and welcome back to our last half hour today. And this next gentleman, I don't believe I've had him on the program before, but I'm looking forward to discussing a really volatile issue with me, and that's immigration, illegal immigrants, etc. And we're going to have with us now a D.C.-based attorney. His name is Justin Torres. Good morning, Justin. How are you?
I'm well. Happy New Year.
You know, and the same to you, sir. Have we got to the point in this country, I hope you don't mind if I call you Justin, but Justin, have we got to the point in this country that you and I, as legal citizens of this great United States, we can't question those that are not or may not be citizens? What's going on here?
Well, possibly we have, depending on what several federal courts say over the next couple of weeks. The issue is that the Trump administration is currently proposed to add a question to the 2020 census that's coming up, asking respondents to, identify whether or not they're a citizen and what the basis of their citizenship is, whether they're, born in the U.S., born overseas to American parents, something like that. And if they're a naturalized citizen, what year they were naturalized. So that question, right now, the plan is to ask that question on the 2020 census, but that has been challenged in about a half a dozen federal court cases across the country that are ongoing right now, including one in New York that's probably headed pretty quickly to the Supreme Court, on the basis that this question is, prompted by racial animus or racial discrimination.
Justin, you're making me madder, and not you personally, but this issue. Why don't we have the right to know, especially in a census, as to who is here legally and where and how? I mean, I want to know everything about these people. As a taxpayer, I'm footing the bill for a lot of people, 4.5 to 5 families out of my paycheck, to support those that are here illegally. I'm fed up with this. Why can't we and why shouldn't we have this information?
Well, I think, one of the things that's really interesting about these cases and about the claims that are being made is there's a separate annual survey that goes out from the census every year called the American Community Survey, which goes to about 1 in every 40 American households. And it also, like the census, answering it is a requirement of federal law. So if you get it, you have to answer under federal law. That ACS survey actually asks this question and has asked it every year for the past 15 years. And some form of this citizenship question was actually asked on every census that was performed in the 19th century and every census that was performed in the 20th century up through 1950. So this is a question we've asked before. It's got a long history. It's got a vetted history. And so it is pretty extraordinary that, now with this question, coming back into the census, that there's been this kind of controversy, because this is not a new thing. This is sort of a revival of an older practice for the census and an ongoing practice for the ACS survey.
Justin, you and I both know why they want that question stricken. You and I both know that they want to inflate the Democratic districts with more people. You and I both know that's why the Democrats want to allow the illegal aliens into this country. It's just nobody wants to say it.
Right. Well, it's the argument that's being made is that, well, you're going to get an undercount because illegal immigrants are going to be concerned about enforcement. They're not going to answer the question. There'll be an undercount in various states, and especially states like California, Illinois, New York, Texas, Florida, where there's pretty high illegal immigrant populations. But, as I said, we've been asking this question on the ACS for all these years. There's no real evidence that people aren't going to answer the question. And the census also has some fairly sophisticated statistical techniques that they use on the back end of the census to try to get at the question of, who's answering the question incorrectly or who's not answering questions or who's, trying to avoid being detected and things like that. So there are methods to getting at that issue. But it does seem like, in a day and age where put aside all the other questions about illegal immigration and the political questions and the policy questions and all of that, we don't even have a really good sense of the size of this population. It's kind of hard to make good policy in the absence of good data. So figuring out how big this population actually is sort of a first step. And we're not even allowed to do that currently. So that's part of the reason that the Trump administration is, wants this question. Let's start with the simple question. How many illegal immigrants are there in the U.S.? We don't know that question. We don't know the answer to that question.
I guess I'm going to ask you a very naive question here, Justin, so bear with me. How are these illegal aliens even getting these forms or getting these questionnaires if they are illegal? I mean, do they have an address, their bona fide address, and they're getting these and they're offended because we want to find out if they're citizens or not? How are they getting this information?
Well, it's through various kinds of, the census starts by mailing out questionnaires based on a number of different sources, mailing out questionnaires to addresses. So you're talking about driver's licenses, government databases, Social Security records, state records, things like that. But then there's actually follow-up that goes where, if something is listed as a residence and people aren't responding from that residence, there's going to be, starting in 2020, an army of census workers going out to residences with forms, actually knocking on doors and, asking, okay, how many people live here? Who's here, right? That's really the only constitutional requirement for the U.S. Census, is that there be a quote-unquote actual enumeration. So that means you're going to see census people going out and asking. So that's part of how they're going to get this answer, is by going out and knocking on doors.
We are estimated to have over 22 million illegal aliens residing in this country, and that number inflates itself every day, every hour of every day. How in the world can you come up with comprehensive congressional districts not knowing who in the heck is there or isn't?
Yeah, no, that's really one of the important points. The government's actual estimate of the immigrant population in the United States is about 12 to 13 million. That's the official estimate. Everybody on both sides agrees that that number is incorrect. The 22 million number comes from a really sophisticated study that was done at Yale a couple of months back that used actually some of the data from the American Community Survey that I mentioned to try to estimate the population. They come up with 22 million. There have been credible estimates that go as high as 35 million. So, when you're talking about a range of possible answers that ranges from 12 million to 35 million, you've obviously got a tremendous amount of uncertainty that needs to be sort of nailed down and dispelled so that you can get an accurate sense of really what's going on. So that's part of the reason here. But yeah, there's huge uncertainty about the size of this population. Nobody has a really strong sense, at least in part because, the number one method for ascertaining demographic data in the United States is the census, and we haven't asked this question in 50 years.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Justin, what about you personally? I mean, what's your dog in the fight with this issue? What do you hope to achieve or attain?
Well, I think that one of the important things, that really matters to me and to a lot of lawyers is a connected but slightly separate issue, which really comes down to, what is the president's power over administrative agencies and what can he order administrative agencies to do? Traditionally, in this area of the law, the president gets a lot of deference. And if the president can the president and his designee, who in this case is the Secretary of Commerce, come up with a reasoned explanation for why they want to do what they want to do, then they usually get deference from the courts on the grounds that, hey, we're the courts. We're not a policy-making body. We don't decide what the right policy is. I think we've seen a degradation of that principle over the past 2.5 years, and what's really begun to be obvious is that there are this set of Trump-only rules in administrative law where courts are really interested in interfering in a much more detailed way with executive action. And that's a principle, I think, to be defended, that, the president is the, executive leader of the country and has extensive discretion, and courts ought to stay out of policy decisions like this. So that's a principle that, runs throughout a lot of these issues related to immigration, but is very important, I think, in this particular issue, because this is an area where traditionally the president would get a whole lot of deference from the courts. I think it's an important issue that needs to be defended.
Where are our politicians? Where are our senators and congressmen? Where are they that are supposed to represent us, the citizenry of the United States, the citizens, the taxpayers? Where are they? They look like a bunch of dogs with their tail between their legs.
Well, I think that this issue is probably one that is going to be increasingly heated. On February 19th, the Supreme Court is actually going to hear oral arguments on one issue that's sort of cropped up in this case, which is, can the plaintiffs in the New York Federal District Court seat that I mentioned force the Secretary of Commerce, a man named Wilbur Ross, to sit for a deposition in this matter? That's really, really unusual. I just can't stress how unusual that is, that a sitting cabinet secretary in an administrative law case would be required to be, deposed under oath by attorneys, because normally in administrative law cases, you rely on the secretary's written explanation for what he did and the reasons why. You don't kind of try to probe his state of mind or go underneath the explanation. I think once the court steps in and begins to really think about these issues, it's going to raise a lot of questions that politicians are probably going to have to take a stand on. They've sort of been avoiding that so far by saying, "Hey, it's being hashed out in the courts, and so we don't need to get involved with this." But once it gets to the Supreme Court, I think there will be some questions that they'll have to answer and some stands they'll have to take.
Justin, final thought here this morning before I have to let you go, but are we at a point of no return on this issue? I mean, are we at a point where the value of being a bona fide citizen of this country no longer matters?
Well, I don't know if I would say that, but I would certainly say that, the value really is related to a certain extent to the ability to draw distinctions that are accurate and complete. If you can't count the number of non-citizens, and you don't know, sort of the status of these people and the percentage, then it's very hard to argue that, that we're making fair and accurate determinations in terms of representation, in terms of the division of money, for federal block granting and things like that. So, all of those issues get impacted by this count. And the uncertainty, I think, makes it difficult to make good policy. And that's part of the reason that people on the other side of this question prefer uncertainty. They like the uncertainty because they don't like the policies that would probably result if we had more certainty about the size of this population.
You're excellent, and I'm going to ask you if you'll come back in the future. Justin Torres, a Washington, D.C.-based attorney, thank you. Thank you very much talking about the U.S. Census, and I'm going to save your name and number and have you back in the future. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir. Interesting. And all the more reason why, yes, that question should be asked. Is this person a citizen of the United States? Absolutely, that should be asked. I am sick and tired of kowtowing to all and anyone that wants to come into this country, whether it's under the cloak of darkness or just blatantly walk across our borders. If they're not citizens, they shouldn't be here. They should not have the same rights and or other amenities that are afforded to us, the taxpayers, and we've got to put our foot down. 22 million, maybe 35 million, maybe, nobody really knows the number. This is ridiculous. And the drawing of the congressional districts all up in the air over finding out who is what is who, etc., and now they can't ask the question, are you a citizen of the United States? They can't ask that question? Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. Blood pressure. Let's go to the weather forecast, and then I'd really invite you to give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Our weather brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats. Hello, Don Scarrow. Oh, did they have a great Christmas and holiday season? Oh, man. They had all those delicious hams and all those meat gift boxes. Oh, it was fantastic. Well, you get a hold of them today. Scarro's Meats, located at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Absolutely great meats, whether it's prime ribs or tri-tips or pork ribs, or whether it's all their special packages of beef, pork, and chicken. It's all delicious at Scarro's Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this January 2nd, and we are going to see some sunshine for today, but the winds are going to be sticking around, and the wind chill factor going to make it cold. We are expecting a high of 21 under mostly sunny skies, but that wind chill values as low as -7, winds out of the east right around 10 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 12. Tomorrow, again, more sunshine in the forecast. Winds out of the east right around 8 miles an hour, and we are expecting a high of 27 by tomorrow night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 17. Warming up for Friday, if you want to consider it a warm-up. Partly sunny skies, high of 34, then mostly cloudy and 24. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zip and Rain.
Going to stay chilly for a while, she said. Wow, 20s for the high. Aye. Scarro's Meats, of course, bringing you the weather this hour. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Absolutely delicious meats. Get a hold of them today, 324-7657. At Scarro's Meats in Jerome, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Okay, your turn. Please, I would like to hear from you, whether you want to tell me about your Christmas vacation or whether you want to talk about New Year's, maybe some resolutions you've made, whatever. Give me a call, and we've got some time here. I'd love to have you be a part of the program. There was a article in the Times News the other day I thought was really interesting because it's a problem that I went through a couple of years ago. And I'm not going to be pulling any punches on this thing. I'm going to tell you direct. I tried to get my dad off the highway. Literally. There was an article in the weekly editorial page regarding Policeman Dan, and I thought he did a good job of responding to this. But the headline was, "When the Elderly Can No Longer Drive Safely." And I remember the problems that we had with my father. He should have been taken off the road years prior to when finally he did have his license revocated. But what about your thoughts on this? When do you sit down and tell mom and dad, or try to explain to them, they can no longer drive safely? My dad, one time I'll never forget it, and I'll share this story with you really quick. We were back there on a visit, and we went to a kind of a restaurant resort, which is way out on a little inlet on a huge lake. And the road is bordered by water on both sides. And it's one of those roads that whoever laid the road out must have been absolutely inebriated, because it went back and forth around switchbacks and everything else to get to that resort. And my dad, and the speed limit was 35 miles an hour. And I'll never forget, we got in the car, and he was doing, in some instances, 60 to 65 miles an hour around some of those curves that we could have ended up in the drink with no trouble at all. And I told him, I said, "Dad, it's about time to consider not having your license anymore." And you would have thought I started World War III. I don't think I'm the only one. How do you go about telling your parents or the elderly that they should not be driving anymore? I even went as far as notifying the county sheriff's office back in his respective county, and tried to get my dad arrested so that they would take his license away. That didn't work so well. And I'd like to hear what you folks think about this. Maybe I'm making something big out of nothing, but I thought the article that Policeman Dan Bristol from the Heyburn Police Department had a good article in there, and I want to give him credit for that. And I don't want to see anybody have their license taken away, but yet there reaches a point in time when we shouldn't be driving. What are your thoughts? Give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call, don't forget, too, our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, boy, all 7 locations, and they've got all the tires for all your cars and your pickups and your SUVs, all the different tread designs, everything. Oh, my, you better get in there today. They can, and they will help you. And the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. You heard how cold it is. I mean, single digits in the morning, you better make sure you've got a good battery. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert and Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, the best. They are your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and our major sponsor. Thank you very much. Hey, I got time for a call. Come on, give me a jingle. When do you think it's time to pull the plug on your mom and your dad, Aunt Martha, Uncle Fred with their driving privileges? When do you think, and how do you go about that? It's not easy. Not easy, let me tell you. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not really sure when you should do it either. I'm hoping that when I get to that point, I can say, take it away, but I don't know. I'm thinking about it in the future. But with my own father, he was living with my brother, and I'm not sure what my brother did, but we finally said to him, you can't do it anymore. And he was really angry. But he lived in Salt Lake, and my brother lived like 2 blocks from the bus. So he started riding the bus, which after that he was like, oh, this is great, because he's a real people person. Mm-hmm. And he loved to talk to people. But that had its downfalls, too, because as he couldn't remember, he kept getting lost. So, there's good good and bad there.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I can tell you this, that in our situation, my dad treated every time when he got behind the wheel like he was entering a NASCAR race. He didn't drive slow. He drove double the speed limit. He just had no concept of speed. And it was so...
Did he do that his whole life or just as he got older?
No, as he got older. I mean, it kept getting worse and worse and worse to the point where you always wanted to get in the car with the door unlocked and the window down so you could bail out. It was terrible. And I went through every kind of means necessary, or I thought necessary, to try to get his license pulled, but it didn't work.
Yeah, something about they don't want to, I don't know, go against their rights. But I'm thinking, what about the rights of the people on the road?
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. You can really, as a sibling, you can really alienate a father and or mother from ever thinking about you and the will when you try to take away their driver's license.
It's true. I think that's probably one of the hardest things because that's their independence. That's their way to get where they want to go.
Absolutely. You know, I wish you a very happy New Year, and thanks for calling in this morning.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you very much. We'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. I think it's worthy of a little bit more conversation. But right now, I'm going to say that's it for today. I've got some meetings to go to. Yep, back in the old grind again. Hitch up the horses and go to work. And we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch right here on KBAR 1230 AM and then streaming live all over the universe on ZebBell.com. And we always say at the end of our program, the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the world needs more cowboys. Have a great day.